I think that'd be a really incredible project and bring a lot of people together.
And you did bring a lot of people together. Speaking of,
Thank you.
how did the Marvel Recreation Universe project begin?
How to begin? That's a great question. I will name some people. John Anderson was he's an executive producer, and he also was my assistant. So I just completed doing some short films for our Boy Scout troop that they really enjoyed. They were like 30-minute live action films. But I realized after doing that, we really hadn't nailed the filmmaking look or quality. We really had just made some people laugh and some good acting. So I wanted to change that. I wanted a series where I could really focus on the look of filmmaking and on visual effects. I realized the next step we should do is not do another feature film or short film, but instead is to practice recreating. And I talked to John Hess from filmmakeriq.com, and he said, that's a great idea. You'll learn a lot. That's what you should do. So then I had to get a team together. I had some people, but we weren't quite working as a team. It was more of a guilt trip how I got them on board in the beginning. So I needed a good team member. So at church, there was an usher named John Anderson, who are now very good friends. He played Spider-Man and Captain America throughout the entire show, basically. This is way back in 2018. So I told him we had this idea for this Guardians of the Galaxy recreations, a visual effects test for a show that could get much bigger if it succeeded. And he was on board, so we filmed that in like a day, and it took me like 6 months to edit it because it was my first time using green screen. So actually I used these super bright lights, which is all we had. They were like these light bars. And actually that ended up causing me to think about 2 months of extra visual effects work just to key the guys out just because I messed up so bad. But that came out, and that was a visual effects test. That came out January 1st, 2019. And then I believe we didn't start filming again till later December. We had a full cast together of about 6 actors. We had an Iron Man, we had a Cap, John was playing Cap. I was Thor. We had an actress I met at a filmmaking conference. She was playing Black Widow. And then I had a friend of mine who was playing Hawkeye. And we bought all the costumes. We were like, we did the visual effects test. It shows that this kind of technology can work. I want to see if it'll work with multiple actors, actual costumes. So we got the costumes, we got all the actors together. We did an 11-minute Avengers Battle for New York recreation. We wanted it really long just so we could see if the idea worked. And all the actors that came in, we filmed them one at a time, then they came out. And then we edited all that together, and that came out, I think, January 1st. It was a year after the visual effects test came out. So this would be January 1st, 2019 when it came out. And that actually was what we used as a pitch meeting to get all our other actors on board when we actually did the show, because the test pilot succeeded. And then it wasn't until July 27th, I think 2020, that we actually started filming the actual show. So it was a big journey all the way back from 2018 all the way until we started filming in July 2020. Thankfully, actually, when the project still wasn't quite making what we wanted to, we were actually able to get actors from other countries all on board to film their stuff due to the pandemic. Because we used Battle of New York as a pitch meeting as a proof of concept to show that it worked to the actors to get them on board. But once we had episodes coming out, like Civil War recreation, a Doctor Strange recreation, then we just used our entire show, what we had out at the time, which I think was all the way to Thor Ragnarok, to get actors and then professional cosplayers from all around the world to really make the series work in the end.
Oh, that's quite a journey you had. Which scene was the hardest to film?
Which scene was the hardest to film? That's a good question. Let me think. Might have been the Spider-Man Homecoming scene, just because, I know it's a very basic scene where I'm just talking to Spider-Man. I think the hardest part was actually we were losing actors like crazy. And it looked like I actually ended up filming that scene by myself, where I played both Spider-Man and because it didn't even look like John was going to be able to stick into the project at that time. I think in the first week of starting actual production at MRU, we had, I think, maybe 11 actors on board. And by the end of that first week, it was just 2 actors left, me and John. Everybody else had left at that point. And it was looking like John might not be able to make it to finish the show as well. Filming wasn't really that too difficult because it was mostly in a green screen studio, then there was some outside. But the hardest part was definitely keeping actors on board with the project.
Why was it so hard to keep the actors on board?
That's a good question.